Hey everyone, just a reminder that I do stream on Twitch at StoopChild with 3 O's, giving away 2 awesome skins once I hit 50 Twitch follows there. So if you like my content, check me out. Ask questions, tell me I suck, do whatever you need to do. And if you do enjoy the content, please like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over all of the item changes happening in the Queen of the Banshees update happening on October 19th. There's a couple little Joust changes as well that I'm going to throw in at the very beginning, but this is mostly centered around the item changes and how those item changes are going to impact Joust specifically. I will be going over the gods and the god changes in a separate video that I will put in an annotation card and link below. But enough of that, let's just get started and hop right into the changes. The first change, which might or might not affect you in your ranked Joust games, is that there's a little pause cooldown change. They're decreasing the combat timer for ranked pauses with no DC from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, so a little bit shorter of a window where you can pause if needed, which will be a good change if you just need that quick pause for whatever reason. And then an increase in the unpause cooldown from 3 seconds to 5 seconds, just a little quality of life change for those ranked matches. The second change that doesn't really have anything to do with items specifically, but is a map change in the Joust game mode, is that they're increasing the split bonus from 0.65 to 0.75. So you're going to get a little bit more of that XP when you're together at camp. So if you're trying to roam around and farm as efficiently as possible, make sure you have 2 or 3 people going to each of those camps whenever you can. It'll just help all of you level faster. They're trying to do this so that people can get to level 20 a little bit more often, but again, you do have to be together to kind of feel that split bonus, so just keep that in mind. Fixing some issues where abilities could travel to areas outside the map. Not sure exactly what this is referring to. I know Persephone ult can fly off the map. Maybe there's some other ones that can also have some weird interactions behind the towers with no walls. So we'll have to see what that actually entails, but that's something that's coming up in this update. Bull Demon King also getting an increase in max health from 1750 to 2250, increase in physical protections from 25 to 45, and an increase in magical protections from 25 to 30. So Bull Demon King going to be a little bit harder to kill, a little bit more health, a little bit more protections, so that hunter can't go over there and kill it at 5 minutes. We've had that happen in a couple of our games. Kind of takes you by surprise. They shouldn't be able to do that anymore. It's going to take a little bit longer for that BDK. So if you are going to try to secure that objective, just know that it's going to be a little bit harder in this next update. All right, now that we've gone over those non-item changes, a few quick ones, let's go into the items, how they're changing, and how it's going to impact Joust. Elixir of Defense increasing damage mitigation from 5% to 10%. So if we look at the old Elixir of Defense here, provides 50 magical and physical, 5% damage mitigation. That right there is going to be moved to 10%. Still going to give you 20% CCR and decreases the damage taken from structures by 25%. Also a little note, lasts for 6 minutes, you can die and it will still have the effect. So if it gets to the point where you're having a hard time diving, this can be an effective item for you. Really in Joust, you don't necessarily get to build this item that often. 3,000 gold is a lot. You sometimes don't even get to that before full build. But if it is something that you're struggling with, you need to tank those structures a little bit longer. Consider this item. It's going to be a little bit better in the next update. Warding Sigil, also getting a little bit of a shift, I would call it, because it's getting some stats taken away. It's gaining 15 physical power, and it's losing 5 magical and physical protections. As a reminder, the passive, you get a stack of dampening, which is 5 protections for 5 seconds, once per ability cast, and can stack twice, so you can get up to 10 protections for 5 seconds. That's remaining the same. The only thing that's changing is that it didn't have physical power on it before. Now it will. So those more aggressive warriors can use this a little more effectively. If you think of something like an Odin with 15 physical extra power at the start of a game, it can really be pretty impactful. You're going to have less protections, of course, but 5 less protections of each isn't a huge change. I think this is going to compete for some more of that regular starter spot that Bluestone and Axe kind of happen to be dominating. I already thought this was an underrated item, And I think with some of these shifts, you're going to see it a lot more often. Along with the Warding Sigil starter upgrade, Sigil of the Old Guard, one of the upgrades, is also getting a little bit of a shift. 35 physical power, 75 magical protections, and 45 physical protections. Kind of similar to the passive before, you decrease damage taken by 4% for 5 seconds, and that can happen 3 times. So you can get up to 12% damage reduction just from having this item. Before, there was no physical power, so let's just take a look at it. No physical power, 75 magical protection, and then only had 30 physical protection. So this shift, you're getting more physical protection, and you're getting more physical power. So if you're looking for that item that's going to make you a little bit tankier, this is the more defensive option in this tree. Infused Sigil, the other Warding Sigil upgrade, is also getting, this is a complete buff. So the first one was a shift. The Sigil of the Old Guard is a buff in both cases, but this I think is the biggest buff of them all, out of all 3 of these items, and the item that I think people are going to be building most often if they do get to level 20 with Warding Sigil. So you get 350 health, which is obviously really good. 50 physical power. Before, Infused Sigil had none. 0 physical power. So you're getting 50 physical power that you weren't before. 35 physical protections previously. 35 magical protections previously. This is the upgrade. 35 physical protections, 35 magical protections. Previously, they had 25 of each. So you're getting more protections, 10 more protections of each, and you're also getting the health that it already had, and you're getting the 50 physical power on top of it. And then if you read the passive, another very underrated passive in my opinion, when you're hit by an ability, the Infused Sigil gains a stack, can occur once per ability cast. At 4 stacks, it explodes, dealing 500 physical damage to enemies within 30 units of you. So obviously if they have protections, it's not quite 500, but having an explosion, a Pridwen proc essentially, for 500 damage every 4 abilities, to my knowledge, please let me know if I'm wrong on this, there is no cooldown on this. So if you're in a long fight and you get hit by 4 abilities, that's 500 damage. 8 abilities, that's another 500 explosion. 12 abilities, that's another 500 explosion. And it is shifting from magical to physical damage, which is another thing to recognize. But either way, this item, if you're a diver in the middle of a fight, you know you're going to be in a prolonged fight. This item allows you to be aggressive, survive, do damage, and then also have that Pridwen proc of just a passive damage on top of everything else you're doing. So like I said, I think Infused Sigil is going to be a very popular option. You don't always get to that level where you get to upgrade it, but among these 2 upgrades, I just think this is a lot better in Joust for almost every single situation. War Banner getting a little bit of a shift as well. So instead of having 30 physical power and 60 magical power, you're getting 40 physical protections and 40 magical protections. So they recently did a little shift to the original War Flag, which they gave it protections instead of damage. So it had 10 physical, 20 magical. Now, in line with that change, they're doing the same thing with War Banner. So before, where War Banner had 30 physical power, 60 magical power, they're taking that away, giving it that original 40 physical and 40 magical prots. So when you think of these 2 upgrades, War Banner is going to be the more defensive one. You have that aura of gaining movement speed, gaining attack speed to nearby allies. So War Banner is going to be that team-focused, utility type upgrade in the War Flag tree. If we just go back to War Flag really quickly, the Spartan Flag isn't going to have that same shift. So the Spartan Flag is still going to have that 40 physical power and 65 magical power. So if you're really looking for a more aggressive, kind of dive heavy, attack first type of upgrade, you're going to go War Flag, Spartan Flag. You're going to lose the protections from War Flag that you had completely, but you're going to gain, physical power or magical power instead. So again, if you're trying to be aggressive, Spartan Flag is your go-to. War Banner can still provide some of that utility for your team when it comes to aggression, but for yourself, you're not going to have as much of that damage from that item for yourself. Bumba's Dagger, decreasing physical power from 10 to 7 and decreasing magical power from 15 to 12. So a little bit less power on whoever you're building it on. But if you look at the passive, if you look at the stats on Bumba's Dagger, I still think it's going to be viable. You're losing power for sure, but you build it for the passive in most cases. 25 true damage is good on Hunters still. 35 plus ability damage versus jungle monsters is still good. And you can get restored for 10% of health and mana upon those jungle kills. So if you're building Bumbas before, maybe think twice. Maybe there's some other items that you can use better, but it's not really going to affect it either way, just because all these other stats are still good for what you want to use Bumbas for. Manikin Scepter no longer does 4x burn damage to jungle bosses, including scorpions. Not relevant in Joust here for the scorpions piece of it, because there isn't any, and it only does 1x damage to those targets, just like it does to gods. Very similar to Bumba's Dagger. If you're building Manikin, you're not, in Joust specifically, you're not building it for that 4x burn. You're building it for the basic attack damage, for the physical prots, and the burn damage that you're getting from Mannequins. I don't know if Mannequins is as good in Joust specifically. I think it kind of falls off mid-game, and then the late tiers, it's hard to build into something. You can have a lot better options with other starters and upgrades, but if you were building Mannequins before, I don't think this will take it out of the rotation for you either way. Leather Cowl, decreasing the MPS from 7 to 5 and decreasing lifesteal from 10% to 7%. So you're getting a little bit of that MP5 nerfed, getting a little bit of that lifesteal nerfed, but the passive is still very good. And again, similar to Bumba, similar to Mannequins, you're building this for that passive in a lot of cases. With Joust, you're going to almost always going to be within 55 units of an allied god. So you're going to constantly have that 10% extra attack speed, giving you 15% attack speed with a starter item. I think that ability-based hunters are still better in Joust, but if you are going an auto attack based build, Leather Cowl is very, very strong. This movement speed you gain while away from your allies can save you in some certain cases if you're running in the jungle or something like that too. So I think this is still a very, very viable item in Joust. Hunter's Cowl, decreasing attack speed from 20 to 15 at base, and decreasing attack speed aura from 25 to 20 when you're close to allies. So before, you have this 20% attack speed, that's moving down to 15, and you have this 25% attack speed aura if you're within 55 units of an allied god, that's moving to 20. So 5% shift on both of those things. Again, not a big enough nerf for this to be really felt that much. If you're building Leather Cowl, you are certainly not building into Leader's Cowl. You're going to build into Hunters. It's going to be the better option for you. So if you're building it before, you'll build it now and probably feel just as good. So Pridwen, like the text here says, this is a pretty big shift. Pridwen is only going to scale based on protection from items, and it's not going to include any of the base protections anymore. With that being said, the shield health scaling from protections is moving from 100% to 125%. So your shield is going to be worth 125% of whatever protections you build. And it's increasing that magical damage scaling from that shield explosion from 50% to 75% of that initial health shield that you got. So let's look at what Pridwen looked like earlier before this shift. You're getting these stats at the same rate. You're getting 30 physical protections, 30 magical protections, and 20% cooldown. That is not changing. That's actually still a good item as is, and I think Pridwen is one of the best items in Joust already. But now when your ultimate ability has finished casting, instead of getting a shield equal to your protections, you're getting a shield at 125% of your shield protections for 5 seconds. When that shield is destroyed by timing out or being depleted, being attacked or whatever, it's going to explode and deal magical damage to 50% was previous. This is going to be 75% moving forward after the 19th. Still going to slow for 3 seconds as well by 25%. So let's just do some really quick, easy math. Before, if you had 100 protections, you're going to have a shield equal to 100 for 5 seconds when this Pridwen procs. Let's say that shield gets destroyed, it would explode for 50% of that 100 protections, which would be 50. Now, let's say you have 100 item protections, protection from items that you're building. Now you're going to get a shield equal to 125% of that 100 items protection. So 125 health shield. And when it explodes, it's going to deal damage to 75% of that 125 that you had, which is something like 93, I think, just off the top of my head. You can check my math on that. So you're basically getting double the damage off of that shield proc with the same amount of protections. It's just not going to have the protections from your base. It's only going to be from the items that you build. What this essentially means is that Pridwen is going to be less valuable as a standalone item. It's still, I think the stats, you can still make a case for building it, but on the flip side, what it's going to mean is that it's going to be way, way better for supports or warriors that are building full defense, because you're going to get more damage off that shield proc and more health on your shield, scaling off of your protections that you already have. So as much as I thought this was kind of a must build item before, if you're building full defense, I don't see how you can't fit this into your build in every single game almost. It's just too good. Stat wise, it's cheap. Now you're getting more protections, more damage from the explosion. There is no downside as a support to getting this item in any build that you're going, especially if you're building full support. So a little bit of a shift. Obviously, you got to be careful if you're building this as a one-off, as a assassin or something like that. But if you're a guardian support like me, this is going to be 100% in my builds almost in every single game. So exciting change. Spectral Armor, a little bit of a change here. It's no longer going to reduce damage from magical critical strikes. So really the only implication is that you're not going to reduce Olorun's crits, and you're not going to reduce any sort of guardian hitting off of a fail not proc. What this means for Joust, I don't think it means much. Olorun, not a top tier pick in Joust specifically, and fail not, I almost never see built. It's just kind of too expensive for what it is in Joust, and crit takes too long to come online most of the time. So this shouldn't really affect any of your Joust games. You still want to buy Spectral if there's physical crit for sure, because it's still going to reduce that. This is only magical crits. So that's it. That's all the item changes in the Queen of the Banshees update happening on October 19th. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you took something away, and it will help you in all of your ranked Joust matches to climb that ladder to whatever level you want to be at. If you did learn something or enjoyed this video, please like, please subscribe, comment. I love the discussion. I just want the Joust community to be a better place, honestly. So again, thank you guys for stopping by. Keep an eye out for the Gods update. It's coming out shortly. And again, appreciate all of you. Thanks so much. Bye.